this is what you expected? I mean, when you're composing or recording the album, you probably say, hey, this song is gonna work perfectly in live, or this is gonna better save it in for the studio material. About the reactions when you are playing, it is what you expected? I mean, when you play, you say, wow, this is what I thought it is going to be. Or
yeah, you know,
I'm speaking about certain songs. I mean,
yes, of course. Yeah, it's experience also really helps in these terms, meaning that the more we go on and the more we went on, and the more, of course, you understand the way your music works, and also which are the things that actually are perfect for a live show, and the things that, you know, are better understood when listening to the album. And this also made us do a lot of things in terms of composition to try to also make an album in which many things could be very valid both in an album but also very strong in a live show. So in King we really paid a lot of attention on it, and we really wanted to play songs that could really work well in both situations. So it's very good to see that we slowly introduced a lot of songs from the new album, and actually it was a good guess, in the meaning that the things that we wanted to work now are really working, and it looks like with experience we also understood from some mistakes, you know, and understood certain things that maybe before we thought, okay, this could work, and maybe it worked but not that much as we thought, and then we understood how to make those things work properly. So yeah, I mean, and it's also it's all a matter of experience, honestly. You know, the more you go on and the more you really understand the mechanism of music, and especially of the music that you play. So we always do certain songs thinking about them in a live context, and we even do that for the video clips sometimes. There's a song like Coldest Perfection is a song that has been literally written thinking about the images of the video. So also the timings in the music itself were thought to be combined with certain images, and to make those images work properly. So it's very important to have this perception.
Okay, so about the concept of King, I read that it is a concept album where King is like the best of us, and all the other characters that surrounds King are the worst part of us, and attack King, like you know. But at the time you were thinking about that concept, did you inspire in any historical or any event or character?
Honestly, even if the story is, of course, metaphoric, so there are two different levels. So the fantasy level, let's say fantasy, but it's like historical level, is actually it represents, of course, a king and his court, but it's not inspired on a particular king, but for which regards the kind of characters and the kind of image. We took a lot of inspiration from the Romantic period, so we're talking about the 19th century. But for which regards the content of the concept album and the metaphoric idea that is behind, I think it's been maybe the first time in which we didn't only took inspiration from the deep part of ourselves, but also from what is surrounding us today. Because it is true, the king represents a part of ourselves, but in the meantime the king also represents maybe the way we used to conceive our world. Even if history is cyclical and this thing happens all the time, but there has been a period maybe when we were younger in which it still felt like there were the old values, the one of our grandparents, in which people there was a period in which people was more aware of the very simple and important things in life. Now we are really surrounded by a lot of strange and sometimes ugly things, and we cannot deny it. From the terrorism to all the things that are happening, those things make us understand that it is a moment in history in which, like, it cyclically happened a lot of times before, so nothing new, but it is a moment in which these things are happening. There's a lot of violence, there's a lot of disease in the mind of people. People is very insecure. And I think when this happens, it's always because, for many different reasons, social reasons, integration and stuff, people starts being scared. And when people starts being scared, the first thing that happens is that we completely forget that in the end we are very small in the universe, and we need to remember that to also enjoy our life and be able to believe in those values, to believe in love and all the very simple things that we need to survive. So it's like a circle, because then it's fear and forgetting those things and fear. So this king, he still knows those things, and he's still fighting for those things, but he's getting old, and around him there's so many things and people that are overwhelming him. So that's why he looks that tired. His eyes, you can tell that it's he is tired. He's tired to fight. But in the meantime, of course, the message is a positive message, because we try to say, let's remember that king. We still have it, everyone, because it's the whole society, is everyone, but it starts from the single. You have to be the drop in the ocean. Otherwise, if you don't believe that, then we're lost.
Okay, understood. So about your music, of course you have a great influence by classical music.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So what do you think has a bigger weight now nowadays in Fleshgod Apocalypse, classical or metal music?
And at this point, it's really hard to say. I'm glad to realize that it became something else. It transformed into something that is more Fleshgod Apocalypse than just a mix of two things, because now we mix those things so much that it's like a soup. Now you cannot recognize any element anymore, because also there's also other things, because also in many progressions that there are in our music, and also in the way that Francesco Ferrini uses arrangements for orchestra, there are also many modern approaches to orchestrations. So we have to we have also to remember that, yes, there is a big part of classical music in terms of harmonic progressions, and sometimes also the melodies, but in the meantime there's also many things in the arrangements that really remind modern composers, also for motion pictures, like Hans Zimmer, that works with Christopher Nolan in the movies, and because we are all big fans of that music, of course. So there's at this point there are more than two elements that are getting in, and I think that it is strange, but even if in a way King, to me it sounds even more metal than Labyrinth, for example, that is more into the complexity, but the guitars and everything are more used like just sections of an orchestra. In King there is the riffing came back a lot, so there is the metal part of music, and not only extreme metal, because honestly now it looks like there are some songs in which we also tend almost to classical metal, to classic metal, because there's some riffing that are more into the maybe more classic or thrash side of the metal, and then there are all those parts that are very recognizable that are more extreme. So all these things are mixing up differently, but the good thing is that I think that for these reasons, there's more harmony now in what we do. It looks more like, it sounds more like something on its own that works organically. So that's what we aim for, and I believe we are getting there.
Okay. So after all, how do you think you are going to evolve after King, and of course you have learned a lot from this album? How do you think, or you're starting to think what is going to be next, or?
There are some ideas. Of course, it's useless to say. I know it's hard, because the more you go on, and the more we have to realize that, of course, the more you go on, and the more it's going to be hard for you, because you have to keep
the
style.
standard.
But in the meantime, that's why I think that, without exaggerating, but it is very important to follow curiosity, in the meaning of, that maybe for the way we are, you can always expect, at least a little bit, you can expect the unexpected, because it never happened that we thought, okay, let's do King 2.0. No, that's not gonna happen, because there's already one. So what's next? I don't know, but it's gonna be something else. And in which direction, it's very hard to say, because I think that things work when you are able and free enough to let those things guide you, and not the opposite, because you can't really push things. You can let the ideas bloom and then see where they bring you. That's the only way, I think.
Okay, so let's change completely the topic, and let's make a little bit of history. Around 20 years ago, there was like an explosion of Italian bands that came to Europe, and mainly power metal bands.
Yes. The power metal, that's been very big in Italy.
Yeah.
It was a
So,
particular moment.
how do you think that movement helped the other bands that came later, and what is the influence in you in bands that are completely different, totally different to them?
I mean, we actually we have been big fans of Rhapsody at the times, and all those bands, Labyrinth. So I mean, they have been very important, also in terms of inspiration, musically talking, because even if so different, there's still some things like orchestrations and stuff that that really already sounded really Italian. And I think that one thing that we have is that also the way we use the orchestrations, sometimes it really sounds Italian. There is really a lot of that heritage. That is, of course, a classical heritage, but still. And also, in the meantime, I think that in the mind of everyone, it's been extremely important, because every time there is something that happened before, even if in a different context and in a different way, it's always important to remember that, because it means that was possible in a way, So even if we did something very different from those bands, in the meantime, it's been good. I believe that in that period of our, when we were like around 16, 17, there were bands that came from Italy and that were getting bigger outside. So that was a first, spark, in meaning that, okay, it's doable. Then, of course, it's not been that frequent in Italy, because for many years then, it got lost. There have been just very, very few things, and maybe in extreme metal that never happened before. But that, then at that point, it's also a matter of the way you think, because it is true that it's been important, but in the meantime, when we started, our idea was, okay, we don't have to think that American bands, North European bands, or whatever got there because they come from those places. We have to think that if they did that, it means that art can make it, in any ways. So we started with that idea, and we started thinking, okay, let's do what we like to do and try to do it the best we can, because that's the only way, and it's working. So